I took a crap in the urinal.
If you want to tell your life story, tell your life story. This is why bullying sucks. This is why it's tough feeling like you were born in the wrong body or something. But no, we're doing this as a way to like try and hector women into allowing you into their sports. What are we now, 3/4 of the way through the video? We have not mentioned sport like once. There isn't any content about sport on here. And now suddenly you're a trans athlete? Are you even interested in sports? Do you even care about it?
Can't play on our sports teams.
Say we can't play on our sports teams, so like more than 17 and a half minutes in, we finally mentioned sports teams.
One of the things I kept on thinking was, what if I died before I could transition?
What if I die and my tombstone has my old name on it? Like, I don't know, bro, you'll be dead. You probably won't notice. People shout shit from their car windows. You know what? Those people are fucking pussies. They don't deserve for you to waste any of your emotional energy getting upset at those people.
You're anti-trans.
All right, the first thing I wanted to watch, we have I am a trans athlete, Sarah Maywalt. I've never heard of this person. I am a trans athlete, this is my story. When people talk about trans people in sport, they focus on biology for the best case, in the best case, or the fears of others in the worst case. Little attention is paid to actual trans people. I mean, is this true? Like, certain people like Leah Thomas, etc., got a hell of a lot of attention and focus. This is my attempt to change that. This is an emotional argument that's on purpose. Jesus Christ. Seems like emotional arguments work better than logical ones. That said, I believe the logical argument supports trans inclusion in elite sports. So what, we're not actually going to make any logical arguments and just say that we think it does? That's bizarre. An analysis of research can be found here. Nice. This is a video I made for the World Curling Committee I've been part of for the past year. It's a Cliff Notes version of my life story. I wanted to help make the lives of trans athletes more real by sharing mine. I should note that this video is not responding to the actions of the committee. Society has been villainizing trans people, especially in sports, and any sense of angst I display is a response to that. How nice. Oh, thank you so much, Kava, for the $5.
I love you, Mary.
Hi, Mary. Been enjoying your content.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hope you're good. But yeah, so let's see. It's not a good start. If we're saying emotional arguments work better than logical ones, you sound like you are trying to manipulate people. And the whole point is we're supposed to erase emotion from this because emotion is not rational. Let's have a look. And like we talk about manipulation. This is also quite manipulative. Do you need to talk about these kinds of things? Can you not just focus on the actual subject?
Well, actually, I like that better. Closer up, more personal. Hi, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, stage fright. Man, have I always had stage fright? Yeah, I have. Just stop, just talk. Hi, I'm Sarah Maywalt. There are a lot of things that I want to say that I really just don't think there's enough time to deal with in the meetings. And also, I can be a little bit, especially in a group setting, I can get, kind of by the book, kind of almost.
Can we see, like, what's this? What's this? Why are we talking like this?
Too technical, sometimes too argumentative. And I
think they went to the same face session as Brianna Wu, I guess.
I want to spare you from that as much as I can. One of the things I think a lot of discussions like this is lacking is an actual talk of the experiences, like not just in the sport, but the whole life experience of a trans person. And I can't.
Is this just another excuse for a trans person to tell their life story? It feels that way.
Claim to speak for all trans people, but I can speak for me. And I hope that speaking about some of my experiences will be, educational, informative, and might help you get to understand people like me a little better. And I got some cards here. I could put up a teleprompter and read something, but I think it's more important for it to be a little bit more organic. So I'd like to start by telling you my first memory related to my gender issues. And the first memory was at preschool. I must have been about 4 or 5, and for some reason at the preschool, somebody decided to introduce the the bathroom to me, and they pointed at the urinal, and they called that the boys' toilet. And they pointed at the bowl toilet, you know, the one you have in your house, and they said that's the girls' toilet. And my first memory was being so afraid that somebody would find out that I really felt like I was a girl.
Your earliest memory is like, oh shit, they'll find out I'm actually a girl. Okay, sure. Preschool. Do preschoolers typically have thoughts that kind of complex? Like, maybe, I guess, but like, I don't know. Oh, hi, Ruby's on. I actually watched this a couple of hours ago. I would suggest he loses his main character syndrome. I think you could tell a lot of trans people that, unfortunately. And hey, maybe I'm not one to talk. I hope you're good. To make it safe and fair for you to play against females. They're doing this because they want to emotionally manipulate people, because they think that emotional arguments work better than logical ones. The problem is, if you make emotional arguments, then all of the logical ones still stand. And things like sport, you kind of have to base off of like science. Urinals at boys' rooms at 4. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, man. Weird. I don't know. I'm already very untrusting of this.
That I took a crap in the urinal. Now, I mean, it's a funny story, and I relate it as such.
You pooped in the urinal because you're afraid of being found out that you were a girl. What?
But it's also really sad, because the first time I can remember thinking about myself in that way, I was already so terrified that I was willing to go to the embarrassment and humiliation of trying to crap in the urinal just to prove that I was a guy. And that's really sad.
I just don't trust this. I'm sorry. This is a strange fucking story.
When you think about it, that a kid that young has to deal with that. My childhood was not pleasant. My father died just before I was 7. I was bullied. I was harassed. I tried very hard to convince myself that I didn't have a problem. And at times it almost seemed like it worked, but the problem was that the feeling never went away. And it was an awful feeling. It was an ache, a dull, throbbing ache right in the pit.
All of this sucks, and like I feel bad for this person, sure. But like, all I can really say to this is like, well, I hope the treatment helped you. I hope you transitioning helps you feel more like yourself. But why does that mean as a male you should be competing with females? Certain things should just be off limits. You're not entitled to every walk of life. You're not entitled to like be able to be in every single space that a woman can be in because you've decided you're a woman, because you have decided to present yourself a certain way.
Pit of my chest, right in the center of my soul. I spent my childhood, you know, utterly depressed. I ate until I was very heavy. It was a feeling that was so lonely and so terrifying, because you're taught that that is one of the worst things that you could feel. But one of the things about that, you know, as I was getting older, I've sort of felt like I was so miserable that, you know, maybe this was just some sort of escapism. Maybe it was just, I felt so awful that I wanted to be someone else. And that being a girl was the furthest thing away from me that I could be.
It's almost like they know. It's almost like they know that they're probably projecting a bunch of other feelings onto their gender. It's amazing to me how often these types of people will like walk all the way up to the point and then turn off at the last second. Oh no, actually this is why I should compete with women, shit like that.
And then I went to college and things got a bit better. You know, I met some friends. I actually found a niche. I had my first love. And that was the moment. That was the moment because I, for the first time, was relatively happy. And that sick...
Wait, found his first love, presumably a woman. That was the first moment? Like, are we... What are we doing? Are we skinwalking this person? Did they have this kind of hair? Did they dress this way?
Feeling in the pit of my stomach was still there. I didn't want to be someone else. I wanted to be me, and I was a girl. I first
Okay, how the fuck does that work? Like, I don't know, man. You finally start to experience something other than, like, loneliness, not getting on with other people. Don't you have to kind of get used to that for a while? Don't you have to kind of... I don't know. I don't know how to put what I'm saying. It's so bizarre.
told my psychiatrist. I'd been writing it down in a journal, finally admitting it to myself somewhere for some time. And I said I had to tell somebody because I didn't know the way forward. But as is, my particular MO, I procrastinated as long as I could, even to the point where I was in the last couple minutes of my appointment. And I finally got up the courage to say that I had something to say. But as soon as I went to actually say it, I found the words couldn't come out. And I was stammering and I was crying. And my psychiatrist, she said, "Can you write it down and pass it to me?" And as long as I made that, like I could write it down on a piece of paper, and then I could hand a piece of paper over to her that happened to have those words on it. And the only reason I felt safe telling her was I knew that if she had told anyone else, I could sue her so bad. So after I told my psychiatrist, I told everybody else after a little bit. Now, honestly, that's just the way I do things. I felt like I needed to know where people stood. One of the most awful things for trans people is that their families and friends can turn away from them. People that they care about, people that they've loved for their entire lives can disown them. I had one trans friend who told me that her father told her that he would have rather she had killed somebody than be trans.
Like, this is all well and good. Like, oh man. This is what to do with being a trans athlete. I feel like I'm being manipulated.
I was fortunate. Most of my family stayed behind me. Most of my friends stayed behind me. So there were a couple of problem areas, but by and large, I didn't have to deal with that. Getting help for being trans back then, like the 99, 2000, was a lot more difficult. There were very few people who had any experience dealing with trans people. I was at Penn State, which is right in the middle of Pennsylvania, out in the abject farmlands. The closest place to me was...
Imagine disclosing it with "I can see her in mind," not "I need help." Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a big thing to come out with. I don't know. This is all very strange to me. I don't know why we feel the need to emotionally manipulate people into feeling sorry for us so that we can compete with women instead of men. What would be the problem with this person actually just competing with men? Did they ever try it? Was there something wrong with that?
Was Pittsburgh, and I'd take a Greyhound bus down to Pittsburgh and back in one day. That's 5.5 hours each way, just for a 1 hour appointment every other week. At that time, even when you got help, it took a very long time. I was going there for more than 2 years, and then I got the approval to go in front of their council of elders to have them decide whether or not they'd give me a recommendation to move forward with hormones. The problem was that it took me, by taking about 2 years to get to that point, my whole life had changed. I was out of college and things didn't exactly work well right away. I was barely making any money, and none of the hair removal or even the doctor's appointments or anything like that would be covered by insurance back then. So everything had to come out of pocket, and I was making a bit above minimum wage, and it just wasn't happening. And I panicked, and I had actually even started taking hormones, but I had to back away. It took about 10 more years, 8 to 10 more years for me to actually get up the momentum to transition again. There's a lot of stuff I'm glossing over here. There's just too much. If anybody wants to speak to me and have questions or something like that,
Glossing over a lot of things, by the way. We're almost halfway through the video. Absolutely nothing to do with why men can compete with women. What is this, by the way? No, this isn't that person's analysis. This is someone else's that they agree with, I guess.
totally open to talking about my life.
But it'd be pretty annoying if the entire video is them trying to make me feel sorry for them, and the only actual arguments they have for sport, they don't actually have any arguments. They're just, oh, well, this person said some other stuff, so just go listen to them instead. And then we've got this transgender women athletes in elite sport. Scientific and grey literature on trans athlete participation. Biological data are severely limited, often methodologically flawed. So is that saying that we should allow trans women in there? To me, that sounds like an argument against. Limited evidence. Yeah, the evidence I've seen all suggests that there's still an advantage, even after like 3 years. Available evidence even indicates trans women who've undergone testosterone suppression have no clear biological advantage. This is nonsense. Like, listen, I haven't read the entire report. I haven't read what they're basing this on. There is certainly plenty of available evidence to suggest males have advantage over females, even if they suppress testosterone. You watch the Parry thing. It was fun. Listen, I like doing something a bit different now and then. Hope you're good.
Life. It was a bit better. You know, admitting it to myself during that time allowed me to at the very least, stop trying to be such a guy. And that helped a bit.
Stop trying to be such a guy. What does that mean? So, start pandering to, start performing female stereotypes instead of male ones. None of that has anything to do with whether you're a man or a woman.
But it still was awful. One of the things I kept on thinking was, what if I died before I could transition? What if my tomb...
What? What the fuck is this?
Stone read my old name. What if no one...
This is like narcissistic as fuck. What if I die and my tombstone has my old name on it? Like, I don't know, bro. You'll be dead. You probably won't notice. What if other people refer to me as a he after I've died and can't do anything about it? What if I can't control the way other people speak about me?
Knew who I really was. And eventually I moved to New York. I started doing comedy and I got a relatively decent job and things were going okay. So I started working towards it. It was a lot easier in, say, 2008, 2009 to get help, especially in some place like New York City. But there was still a lot of fear. And the anxiety was so much, I went to my psychiatrist at the time and they prescribed Xanax. I was on Xanax. And this was right in the middle. Like, my goal was to get everything ready for one moment. I wanted to make the change as quickly as possible.
Wait, they prescribe Xanax over there? Crazy. By the way, we're over halfway through the video.
I wanted to get all pots to a boil at the same time. But all that, took its toll on me. And then I started taking the Xanax, and unfortunately, the Xanax will go well with me. It actually made me more anxious. And one of the horrible things, if you're ever taking a medicine like that, if you're ever taking an anti-anxiety medicine and it makes you more anxious, what you'll think is that, oh my God, things are just getting that much worse. And what would happen if I stopped? How anxious would I be then? And the worst part was my muscles just started tightening up, and I felt like my whole body was cramping at a time. And one thing was, if you're taking hormones, if you're taking estrogen, one of the things that can happen is you can get blood clots, and those blood clots, they feel like cramps. And so here I'm worried that my whole body is filling full of blood clots. And then I started thinking about, what would that mean? I'd have to stop taking the hormones. I'd have to stop taking the hormones, and I'd have to, and what I would do if that happened. And the answer was not bright and cheerful. I didn't know if I could go on. Fortunately, I had forgotten to take my medicine one day. And around about noon, all my muscles just released. And the anxiety went down to normal, pre-normal anxiety levels. And I realized what happened. But that was an important moment because
Xanax at 10 with a super root will open your mind. Yeah, no doubt. Hi, Nat Trevi. Sounds like we could all do with joining a women's curling team. Must work miracles. There's a whole load of heavy stuff out of nowhere. Yeah, Jesus. Well, this is the problem. There's a tacit admission here that there aren't any logical arguments. Like, I don't know, how long is it gonna take before we say anything about women's sports? How long are we gonna take before we consider whatsoever how women feel about being in sports, competing against or alongside this person,
I was trying to push to get to.
I think trans and hypochondria come together a lot. I'm not sure because I'm a bit hypochondriac myself, but the thing is, I'm kind of aware of it. Like, I don't know if other people are like this. I don't know if other people find themselves struggling with this. I find I have to tell, like, the voice in my head to shut the fuck up an awful lot. I'm a very paranoid person in lots of different ways. So I'm just kind of used to understanding that I have a lot of, like, irrational thoughts And that sometimes what I'm thinking, I need to like just blanket tell my brain to stop. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a very common thing for people to do.
Transitioning, and I procrastinate as I always do. It's supposed to be at the first of the year, 2010, and then I'm like, well, I'll push it back to my birthday, April 13th. But once that happened, I realized how important it was to me and how desperate I was inside to do it, regardless of the consequences. So on April 13th, 2010, my 32nd birthday, I transitioned. And
Yeah, and again, how often do we hear this? I knew at the age of 3 I was actually a girl. I started transitioning 30 years later. Okay.
they haven't once thought about going back. But the thing is it really, that wasn't the end. That's not the end of the story. That's just the end of the beginning of the story. But while that feeling in the pit of me is better.
I mean, do they seem happy now? Do they seem like transitioning has helped them? I don't know.
It's been replaced with all of the animosity, the fear of the animosity of other people, the fear of lack of acceptance for who I am.
Welcome to being trans. All you can do is try your best and see what happens. Like, you just gotta put that fear into the back of your mind and try and remember that most people are just not that concerned with whether you're trans or like gay or like this, that, or the other.
And that was more than hypothetical. I lost my job because I was trans, even in New York City, which had laws against discrimination. Just as long as you don't say it, you're fine. There were people.
I mean, I do agree with that. As long as you don't say you're discriminating against someone because they're trans, you can still get rid of them even if they have anti-discrimination laws in place. That's certainly true. But I'm not trusting this person's like summing up. You lost your job because you're trans. Like, based on what? What were the circumstances? I don't know. Like, we have not mentioned sport like once. Unless I've just not been listening. Maybe I sped it up too much. I'm waiting to get to the part where it's like I said straight away. It's just an excuse for someone to like tell their life story. It's so bizarre.
People who were laughing, who'd call me, faggot. Hell, sometimes sticking their head out of the car to do so.
Yeah, listen. Happens to everyone, especially trans people. People shout shit from their car windows. You know what? Those people are fucking pussies. They don't deserve for you to waste any of your emotional energy getting upset at those people. You know why? Because they're pussies. They're shouting shit at you from a moving vehicle that is then moving away from you. That's like the weakest shit ever. I don't know why you even care about that kind of shit.
People loudly discussing how people like me are probably some sort of like predator. I had people spit at me. I had people threaten me with violence.
Again, like, all this sucks, but it's like, just because people are mean to you, that doesn't negate males and females being different.
And even to this day, it's hard to accept myself for who I am. If you've heard of something like imposter syndrome, it's that.
Accept myself for who I... You transitioned. You went through all this stuff, and you still don't really feel like yourself. Like, Jesus Christ, it doesn't even... Too often, it feels like it doesn't even really help these people. And it kind of sounds like a lot of this person's problems. Like, they seem to have internalized a lot of the shit that went on when they were a kid, like bullying and stuff like that. And that sucks, man. That's horrible. But at the same time, I don't know. You just want people to feel sorry for you so that you can compete in women's sports. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, is this what you did when you were a kid if you wanted to get your way? Just play the victim? Just cry about how unfair your life is?
But it's not my job. It's not something else I do. It's every moment of every day. I feel like I'm some sort of imposter.
So transitioning hasn't helped you. And like, if you are a trans athlete, yeah, there's probably a reason why you feel like an imposter. It's because you kind of are an imposter. You can make people pity you. If you can make people pity you, they're less likely to pursue criticisms. Congrats, you've been emotionally manipulated. Yeah, exactly. Hi, C3, I hope you're good. Feel bad for them, I honestly do. This isn't the place or the topic to drop all this. Yeah, fucking hell. Like, if you want to tell your life story, tell your life story. This is why bullying sucks. This is why it's tough feeling like you were born in the wrong body or something. But no, we're doing this as a way to like try and hector women into allowing you into their sports. What are we now? 3/4 of the way through the video?
And it's horrible.
By the way, was it you, Sophie? It was like I was in VC with a bunch of people. One of you was talking about like mixed teams, like there being a separate league for like people who are happy to play with people of any other gender. So like men and women and stuff were all on the same team. And that a lot of these like trans athletes that want to play on like women's teams in like football and stuff are also in like mixed teams literally already. And then they're saying like, oh, we're being banned from like participating in sport when literally they already have a league that they can be in and are in. I can't remember. That was really interesting to me. I wasn't really aware of how that works. Yeah, it was you. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to me. So like they're literally all lying. They're literally all playing the victim. Trying to get people to feel sorry for them. Oh, well, we have to let them in women's sports because like what else are they going to do? Who else are they going to play with? Okay, well, with the other people. With the other people that are happy playing in mixed teams. I don't know, bro. You can't really rely on other people to make you happy except yourself. I don't know, it's a tough one because I think you have to try and find happiness within yourself and like by yourself. At the same time, I think humans are social creatures. I think some people just struggle being by themselves. And like if you've had certain experiences when you were younger, if you never really had many friends, if you never really had that much practice like socializing, which I can certainly relate to. That was certainly my experience. And now I'm like in my 30s. I don't know how the fuck to talk to anyone. Like it's tough. At the same time, I do hear what you're saying.
It's better than the alternative. But I'm not going to tell
But what is the alternative? Like, I don't know if you can really, like, you're kind of biased by this point, no? The sunk cost fallacy is like set in. Well, you've already been doing this for so long. You've got some kind of emotional attachment to not being referred to as a guy. Have you ever like really tried to work out why that is? Have you ever spoken to anyone about why it is that you're attached to one label that doesn't really belong to you based on how you were born, as opposed to another?
you it's good. So many trans people that I know have a story about suicide. I remember one talking about
Do you think maybe if we stop mentioning trans and suicide in the same breath all the fucking time, that maybe we'd have a bit less of that?
before she transitioned, she sat
You thought I was 25. No, I'll be 35 soon. But thank you. Hope you're good Pastosaurus.
one night with a bottle of pills. And
Jesus, this is so manipulative. This is like actually disgusting. Listen, I'm so sorry that you felt this way. I'm so sorry that this is how things went for you and that you could have ended up ending your own life. Why are you weaponizing this? Why are you trying to make people feel sorry for you? Like, so that you can be allowed into women's sports. I am a trans athlete. You don't seem very interested in sport, considering you haven't mentioned it fucking once. Is there any other mention of like sport on your channel? I'm a trans athlete. Other things. There isn't any content about sport on here. And now suddenly you're a trans athlete? I'm so baffled. Are you even interested in sports? Do you even care about it? This is so strange.
and she decided against the pills. You know, we have a saying in our country, freedom isn't free. And usually they're talking about the military or something like that, but it's just true regardless. I've had to make a lot of sacrifices just to be myself. And I never asked
Just to be myself, and yet you still don't feel like yourself by your own admission. So are you being yourself? What does it mean to be yourself? Who are you?
for this. I never wanted it. It sucks. I wish every single day of my life that I had not been born trans, but I have been.
Born trans. I know. Looked like they play golf. I think they play curling. Because this is for the World Curling Committee. So yeah, they made this video to try and emotionally manipulate the World Curling Committee. Like, hang on. I just want to see if curling allows trans athletes. I mean, listen, I don't know much about curling. Do men or women have an advantage over each other in curling? If they don't, then I don't really care that much. Curling is the only sport that's co-ed. Wait, so... So it's co-ed anyway. I don't even know what curling is. Yeah, they push like a puck or something across ice, and two people like sweep the floor, like try and smooth out the ice to influence where it goes or something. I don't know too much about it. It's a very strange looking sport. I'm not shitting on it. The fact that it's curling, it's sending me. Yeah, fair enough.
I see every day these people trying to take our lives away from us, to take
our lives. What are we talking about?
our identities away from us. You know, saying we can't
Take our identity. How can someone take your identity away from you? That doesn't make any sense. Your identity begins and ends in your own head. It's influenced by outside factors as it is. And like you changing your mind, is that your identity being taken away? Or is it responding to new information? How can you have your identity taken away from you, apart from someone killing you? So have people been trying to kill you? If so, then that's bad, but like, this is nonsense.
use the toilet for our gender, saying that we can't go to the doctor to get medical care, saying we can't play on our sports teams. And the thing is, like, I live in a
Finally a mention.
that we can't go to the doctor to get medical care, saying we can't play on our sports teams.
Say we can't play on our sports teams, so like more than 17 and a half minutes in, we finally mentioned sports teams. How is curling co-ed? The muscle strength is different, the body length is different. Well, whether it's co-ed or not depends on the policy of the sports committee, I guess. I mean, I don't know enough about the sport. I think that if there's a potential for an advantage, then it probably should be split. But that's the other thing. I mean, like, I don't know. This could be about any sport. It wouldn't matter. This is about emotionally manipulating people.
And the thing is, like, I live in a liberal state in the US, and it's not happening here, but every time I hear about it, it hurts me. Every time.
Maybe tune out. You don't owe it to anyone to keep abreast of like the news of which state is doing what laws come out in what state, etc., etc. If it's affecting your mental health, then tune out. Just try and get on with your own life.
Time, it makes me feel like less of a human being. Every time I hear it, it makes me so lonely and so sad.
Yeah, tune out. Tune out from that shit. You don't owe it to anyone. It's okay to just kind of focus on your own life. In fact, I think way more trans people should consider doing just that. Because you can't actually materially do anything about what laws get passed in what state. In fact, I think trying to emotionally manipulate women into letting you compete with them if they're not happy to, I think that's more likely to push things the other way.
And the worst part is that there's no reason for it.
There's no reason for it? Well, I don't know. People focus on the biology. You haven't spoken about the biology. So it kind of sounds like there is a reason and you're omitting this.
I've done nothing to hurt anybody. Trans people aren't cheating.
Well then, if you're from the sex that has an advantage over the other sex in a sport, and you go into that other sex's sport, claiming that you are that sex when you're not, that is cheating. I'm sorry, man. Just because you're saying it whilst crying. You say you haven't hurt anyone. I mean, maybe you personally haven't. Like, if we're saying that curling is something that doesn't really care about this kind of stuff anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. But what about other trans athletes that take positions from women, that take opportunities away from women, that potentially get like college scholarships that should have been open to women in their sports.
And hell, even the medical evidence shows that there's not some runaway advantage that trans.
This is just nonsense. You're not showing any of it. You're not debunking anything. You're just saying, well, there's no evidence that shows it. Like, I don't know, man. You read this and took it to the bank, I guess.
That trans women are getting. But still, World Athletics are banning us. And the funny thing is, I don't even care about track and field. I find it boring. I don't like it.
So you don't care about other sport. So if there is an advantage, you've already crossed that off. Well, I don't care anyway. Okay, brilliant. This is disgusting to me. Like, I have a feeling, I don't know, whenever I hear these people, my initial thought is like, this person must be fucking hell to be with in a relationship. This person must really, like, if there's a difference in motives, if there's a difference in what one wants to do, and this person is at risk of not getting their own way, I bet this is how they're always acting.
But it still hurts.
Yeah, like, if mixed is fair for curling, then it's fine. But I mean, you have to, they're not just talking about curling, they're talking about wider implications. They're literally saying elite sports in general. So they are generalizing what they're saying, you know? And the thing is, if you're going to say, oh, well, in this one sport that I do where there's no real advantage, it's fine. And I don't care about any of the sports where there is clearly an advantage for males over females. Like, that just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, if you don't care about those other sports, why not just get on with your life? Why not just do the sport that you can do, that you're allowed to be in, and that it might be fair for you to participate in? Like, why not just get on with that? Like, so nasty.
If World Curling were to shut the door completely, of course there has to be rules, but if World Curling were to shut the door completely, I really don't know if I could continue curling. Even if I'd never actually had the
We're talking like sport is like a human right. Why couldn't you do curling with men?
opportunity. I mean, I have dumb dreams. I have this dumb dreams. I wish I could qualify for real nationals. I just would like to. I know I'm never going to make it. I'm too old. I'm too big. My balance sucks. But
So you're not even that good anyway? But you want to talk about elite sports? Jesus Christ.
But there's not that many women's teams competing. And because of that, the bar is not that high in the US. I'd like to give it a go. I'd like to just give it a go. I don't know how I could continue playing knowing that despite no real reason to keep us away, that sport turned their back on us. And I love this sport so much. So when we talk about fairness, I think it's important to talk about the entirety of it.
The entirety of what? So in order to let a trans person compete, you should hear their entire life story before deciding? Even though the problem is that you're male and want to compete with females? Why do you need to hear a person's entire life story? Okay, so depending if someone's been bullied enough, maybe they should be allowed to compete in women's sports? Can you see why that doesn't make any sense? Let's say fucking Usain Bolt was bullied as a kid and then said, oh, well, because of that, I should be able to sprint against women, not men. Would that make any fucking sense? But you get to weaponize that because you identify as something other than what you are? Bizarre.
We don't deserve to feel like this. We don't deserve to have to prove that we belong. We don't deserve to have to prove that we belong. We don't deserve to feel like this. We don't deserve to have to prove that we belong.
This is just manipulation. There's nothing here. We've mentioned sport like twice. We have mentioned sport twice, and one of those times was to talk about how much you don't care about certain kinds of sport and how shit you think they are. Like, did people find this, like, compelling? And, like, they sound like they're about to cry as well.
I don't see why we don't deserve to have to prove that we belong.
Like, look at this person's face. Look at the expression on their face. It's like their nan just died or something. I'm so baffled by this. How can you have self-respect as a human being and make something like this? How can you look at yourself in the mirror? Look at the facial gestures, that of a spoiled brat. Yeah. I feel that completely. Like, listen, I'm sorry you've had bad experiences. I'm sorry that you got suicidal. No one should feel that way. Of course not. But that's not a reason. Because you felt bad at points in your life, because things haven't been easy for you, that doesn't mean that every single door now has to be opened wide for you and let into any space you want with a smile. I'm sorry, Matt, it doesn't work that way.
I don't see why we have to be excluded.
Well, no, of course you don't.
Thanks for listening.
Well, that was fucking ghastly. I don't know, man. It kind of sounds like they joined a sports team having not really had any interest in sport before. I'm guessing this curling thing is quite a recent development for them. And they have all this they have this chip on their shoulder about all the stuff going on with trans people in sports. They know they can't actually hang in terms of real arguments, actually looking at the differences between men and women and divining whether that's a good idea or not. Little attention is paid to the actual trans people. I mean, you look at someone like Leah Thomas. What is it? A lot of the science is suggesting that you'd expect like was it 8 to 12% lower performance after you transition or between men and women. And then Leah Thomas is like barely slower after they transitioned than beforehand. Like when you do actually look at the individuals, it kind of seems like it still becomes clear that it's not right. He linked something. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had a brief skim over of this. I'll have a closer look at some point. But I don't know. Even just reading the abstract, there are things I disagree with in here. And if we're going to say that a lot of the science is like lacking, that's fine. But if you can't determine that it's safe and fair, and like women have like women's rights are fairly recent development if you think about like how history has panned out, how long we have been around versus how long women have been in the workplace, women have had their own sport, women have been able to do this, that, and the other. And now you're like emotionally manipulating women to give all that up again. I don't know, bro. I think that's pretty fucked, quite honestly. But there we go, Sarah May Walt. I am a trans athlete. Wow. Amazing, amazing. How are we doing? How are we doing? Make sure you like the stream if you like the stream. Consider liking the stream. You just scroll down. It's a different video now. You hit like. Just that thumbs up. Help me out in the algorithm. Make sure you check the links in my description. You can donate via Streamlabs. I can't promise that I will use the money any better than Innuendo Studios is using his GoFundMe money. But hey, some of his Butthurt fans are not very happy with the video that I made, so I don't know. I guess his grift is valid and I can do the same thing. Give me money. I don't know. You can fuck me. You can subscribe on Twitch. I'm monetized on there. I have a Patreon. You can subscribe on there for a few dollars a month. Help me out. I don't get monetization from YouTube, so I guess that's my alternative. You can join my Discord. You can buy my music. I make music. You can buy it. You can whatever else.